Hey everyone, today we'll be taking a look at set 4726 Quidditch Practice. This was from the 2002 Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets original wave of Lego sets. At 128 pieces, this set came with 3 minifigures, and aside from the polybag-esque flying lesson set, which included Harry and Draco with brooms just in their standard Hogwarts uniforms, this was the first attempt at Lego to depict Quidditch. So definitely set the tone and kind of the design language for future Quidditch sets within this theme. Taking a look at the box here, really beautiful background illustration depicting some mountains and trees and a nice sky there. The kind of visual effects of swooshing from the snitch and the characters on their brooms definitely adds a lot to the appeal of this set. You'll notice a choking hazard warning displayed here, as the play features integral to the Lego Quidditch sets do, require that you fling around very small pieces. I think almost as concerning as the choking hazard is the losing pieces hazard for sets like this, but we'll get into that momentarily. On the top of the box here, you see Harry and Madam Hooch looking at the golden snitch. On the side here, you can see the Quidditch Stadium tower here and some of the features of it opening up. On the back here, we see the map of the 2002 sets, as well as 2 different alternate builds. Neither of these are featured within the instructions, so the back of the box is the only place where these were represented. So I've been building out the different alternate builds for the first time just by looking at the reference images on these boxes, which has been a fun challenge. So excited to take a whack at these 2. I like that this one kind of builds out more of the Quidditch stands than what we get within the set, and then this one at the bottom looks to be kind of similar to like a Quidditch class, or maybe kind of Madam Hooch's office. We see, the equipment kind of stashed here nicely. And then Harry and Draco on a bench reading Quidditch Through the Ages. Finally, on the other side here, at the top, you just see another, the play feature of using this lever to fling the quaffle into the Quidditch hoop. So overall, quite like the box on this set. I'll take out some of the promotional materials that were included to showcase. So you received at the time this pretty substantial 2002 booklet of various different themes at this time and sets that were included within them. And then as well received a kind of postal card to, sign up to receive a catalog. You, of course, also received the 2002 map of the different sets included within Lego Harry Potter, kind of stacked on top of each other. And on the back side, the individual sets with their set numbers. Always loved this map growing up. The instruction booklet for this set includes that choking hazard warning very prominently on the left-hand side here. On the back, you see the different sets again. And we see here, yes, no alternate builds included within the instruction booklet, just an advertisement for the Lego Creator Harry Potter game. Taking a look now at the build itself, you can see what's really included here is this lever mechanism for the play feature. Harry and Malfoy in their Gryffindor and Slytherin Quidditch robes, a trunk with the main Quidditch balls featured in it, and then this tower for Madam Hooch to referee the game. Starting out with the minifigures, take a look first at Madam Hooch. This set includes 3 exclusive minifigures in terms of their, their styling, which is quite nice, but Madam Hooch was only featured within this set until I believe 2010. So a pretty desirable minifigure from this set. I love the goggles featured here, very exaggerated, a nice torso printing, and then the cape, unique in the Harry Potter world, at least maybe in general, with these kind of referee stripes, as opposed to just the plain black cape that we typically see with Hogwarts professors. And then, of course, comes with a broom as well. Quite like this minifigure, I think that they did a great job at representing her within this set. Although, of course, we receive Harry and Draco in several other sets, particularly Harry at this time. These two minifigures I really like a lot as well. I think that they add quite a lot to the set. The green here on Draco, the cape, torso, and pants, it's just very vibrant to me. I really like the detailing that is included on the torso here with the Slytherin seal, these additional details. I think it really pops. And then Harry, perhaps even more so, the white pants, gold on the torso, has a nice, almost like slightly reflective quality to it. So although, of course, you know, repeat faces and hair kind of goes without saying, but just when I look at these two minifigures on display in comparison to all of the other standard versions of Harry and Malfoy that we get in these early years of Harry Potter, I think that these two were really great and stood out at the time. The snitch piece I'll touch on here as well. Very shimmery and reflective. Adds a lot to, I think, the minifigure display here of Harry as well, to have him having caught it. So pretty great minifigure selection within the set. Shifting gears now to the Quidditch features themselves. You get this brown trunk here with the three other Quidditch balls. So the red one would be the Quaffle, and then the two black ones would be the Bludgers. I believe maybe in more recent sets, they vary in scale, right? So the Bludgers are more like a stud piece, and the Quaffle is like the larger ball piece. I think for the purposes of this set, I'm happy to have them all be the same size. Whenever you have just like loose pieces, whether they be, you know, the studs on stud shooters and Star Wars sets, or even with these balls for the Quidditch practice, it's not my favorite version of a play feature, just because I feel so disincentivized, particularly, I guess, as an adult, but I think even as a kid, from really playing with them, you know, because it's just so likely to lose pieces, or just, you know, have most of your focus be, you know, watching where they go when they're flung, as opposed to kind of just like enjoying the play feature, or having the play feature be something that's more built, right? Like something kind of constructed within the set that's kind of cool, as opposed to just kind of flinging, you know, an individual piece around. Unfortunately, you know, that is kind of inevitable to have when you're thinking about like what a Lego Quidditch set is. And in some ways, I think that's maybe why the Quidditch sets for me have never really been my favorite of Lego Harry Potter, and maybe why they've never, you know, as of February 2026, why they've never made like a full scale, you know, 18 plus Quidditch pitch or something like that. So yeah, curious to hear what other people's thoughts are on that topic. But essentially, the way that this would work, I'll try to do it, you know, canonically here, using the Quaffle piece instead of the Bludgers for the hoops, is you would put the Quaffle piece on this side of the lever, and then shoot it to try and, you know, score points. So we'll see how this goes. Ah! Not great. I'm gonna try it one more time. Okay, yeah, so, you know, a little better. I might actually be, ooh, okay. I got it. I think I got it. Yay. Game over. Okay. So then lastly here, we have the Quidditch tower included within this set. Nice light gray seat up top here for Madam Hooch to referee on. I like that they included colors for both Slytherin and Gryffindor within this tower, matching, you know, the teams that we have playing. Of course, you can kind of include something like this in the jokes about the other houses being paid dust, particularly within these earlier years. But I think it was nice to get them both featured here, even though that wouldn't necessarily be accurate to how these towers individually would look, just due to the piece count restraints featured within this build, as opposed to it just being a Gryffindor tower. On the back here, this is a good look at this. Not entirely sure what this is supposed to represent, actually, but I like this kind of pop of trans blue that we get here. And you can use this to kind of grasp it and turn back the seat here, which reveals that tile showing a kind of magical bag with a spider and some reflective gold sparks coming out of it. Always felt like this tile kind of represented like a drumstick growing up. But looking at it years later, I can better tell that it's supposed to be, for some reason, a bone coming out of a sack of some kind. With the cape on Madame Hooch, I don't love sitting her on this tower, although you could, just because I don't want to scrunch up the cape. I want to keep it in as good condition as I can, though I know in a number of years it probably will fray like my childhood sets did. But I think she looks fine just standing. You get a nice printed Gryffindor and Slytherin seal here at the base of this tower, which I think looks very good. And then this opens up as well to reveal a hidden compartment where you can store this. Ooh! That didn't happen. Where you can store this Quidditch of the Ages book. So we see on one side here the golden snitch, nice printing on the spine, and then on the back the 3 Quidditch hoops and a broomstick. Nothing included on the inside here. You could maybe put that tile in if you wanted to. I believe this book is not exclusive to this set, but it was, from my recollection right now, one of the rarer Harry Potter books. So, and of course, very, very fitting to have included within this set here. I also, would commend these early sets for having these books with printed front and back. If this were made today, it would very likely be that 2-piece build, right, with the blank tile inside, and then you might have a front sticker, a sticker on the tile. We were maybe spoiled without knowing it with these printed books. So I think that that's a great addition to this set as well. Taken as a whole, of all of these original 2001, 2002 sets, I think this one is the most sprawled in terms of the number of like individual little builds. So it is, unlike the other sets, it can feel kind of just like a set of side builds, opposed to something you can pick up and move, or not necessarily as striking to have on display. That said, I do like that with one tower here, with the color scheme matching the minifigures, I do think it works as a nice kind of complementary side piece to, your Hogwarts castle, or, some other set from this time that is a little grander. So, although it is in some ways a set of a bunch of accessories, the minifigures with this tower, just in terms of the vibrant color scheme against what otherwise tends to be a lot of tan, light gray, dark gray, sand green kind of sets. I think the greens and reds here go a long way to providing a more vibrant pop of color within these initial sets. For many people, this was a set that maybe they got like the most play out of growing up with these sets. This set did do a good job of kind of creating the design language for Quidditch. Although, I know that some of the future sets expanded a bit with additional minifigures, some additional side builds that kind of led to a slightly more robust version of the Quidditch pitch. This one did do a great job of setting the tone for Quidditch within the Lego Harry Potter world. Pretty much all I have to say about the main build of this set, but excited to take it all apart and see if I can construct these alternate builds featured on the back of the box. All right, first alternate build is complete. This one came together pretty quickly. See kind of 3 different builds here. On the right-hand side, we have Madame Hooch at her desk. We get that lamp, I'll say, little build that we saw in the main set, along with a stool. On the left-hand side here, we We see Harry reading Quidditch of the Ages, maybe letting Draco know a fun fact he just read, and then we see they allow Draco to hold the snitch for the only time ever, I feel. I feel like he, I don't know that there's any point within the Harry Potter series that we see him holding a snitch. Maybe I'm wrong about that. And then as you see in the background here, the way that these brooms are positioned in this storage cupboard or, you know, display is a little, particularly that the black broom kind of standing upright. I just could not get that to stand upright without being hooked onto something. So I put the 3 brooms within the middle there. I forgive myself for doing so and not exactly mirroring what is on the box. And then we see the Quidditch balls from the trunk are displayed up top there, which I think looks very nice. So this is a fun alternate build. I think it nicely captures the idea of, you know, what Quidditch practice may have been outside of just being directly on the pitch playing. So quite like this one. And then we'll dive into the next one here, which may be a little more challenging, but should be able to figure it out. Kind of expanding upon the Quidditch pitch we see in the set to include kind of a micro scale build, if you will, of a section of the stands. All right, this one was trickier. Maybe the trickiest of the alternate builds I've attempted so far. The rightmost hoop here, it's really difficult to see what that's being built upon. I almost want it to be on a hinge piece. So the left-hand side here, we clearly see is on that hinge piece, which makes for a really fun alternate build here because you have play capability to tilt this over, which is really nice. On this side, there isn't another hinge piece in the set, so I kind of just have it hanging like so. You could still like knock it over, I guess. But it does look like there is that 2x2 light gray tile on that side, so I do think it is kind of not being fully built up in the back, essentially. Other than that, I think I mirrored this quite well. We have Draco reading Quidditch Through the Ages on the Slytherin side here. Harry is flying in the air on the box, so I put him back of the legs attached to the hoop, which I think actually is a really nice way of displaying these characters before we got those clear pieces to kind of position flying minifigures. Very funny how on the box to me, Madame Hooch has her head kind of completely turned around, so I mirrored that down here, a bit owl-like, and then very unclear what this little build is supposed to replicate. Maybe part of the Gryffindor stands that have like fallen off, or I don't know. Maybe like who's won, or like a kind of a scoreboard potentially. Yeah, not entirely sure. That said, as a whole, I think that this does a really fun job of incorporating some of these stands, even if it's kind of like a micro scale version of them. I really like the idea of attaching these Quidditch hoops onto like hinge pieces, especially if you did it maybe in like a sideways build to kind of move them left and right. Could be quite fun in terms of kind of playability. The other thing is just positioning these brooms. Obviously, I think 9 times out of 10, you're going to have minifigures holding them, but it is very funny to me that in these images, they show them just kind of positioned on the set in ways that are pretty difficult. As we see, my brown broom fell over there to position for the display. But of course, that's more of an issue unique to me in 2026 than anything they were thinking about in 2002. Really happy with this alternate build. I think it's a lot of fun. And I think throughout making this video, actually, I've grown to maybe like the set a little bit more than I thought. I think that there is a good amount of play available kind of with the bricks, even though a lot of these weren't included. You can maybe rebuild that lever build from the original set into this one. I think that there was a lot put into this set with what you were given to allow you to play with the initial build, you know, provided in the instructions, as well as to modify as we see here and create other parts of the Quidditch pitch, or just play the game in different ways, act out different scenes maybe that we didn't even see in the book but that you imagined. But yeah, appreciate if you got this far into the review, and I think that's all for today. Thanks for watching.